put everything on the table now for the Noles as they've totally redone the stadium. And we're what now? 4 days away from Alabama. Nile Lawrence-Stample is with us. He's our Florida State analyst. Everyone's counting him out. You never were in a situation like that in your career at Florida State, but everyone's counting out this Seminole team. What do you think it's like for these guys as we get closer to kickoff on Saturday?
Listen, I think that as far as preparation, it's kind of too late at this point, right? So all of our guys have done everything that they needed to in the offseason, in the spring, and all the training that it comes to that. Right now, it's kind of just polishing everything, making sure that they're healthy, getting ice baths, doing those things, polishing up some of the coverages that they want to go over and some of the offensive schemes. But realistically, it's game time. It's game time.
Yeah, and as I've been covering the Jaguars, every single day throughout training camp, it's a totally new staff there. And at the professional level, there were mistakes. There were growing pains. And it's not as complex in college football because it's not a full-time job like it is in the NFL. But I can't overlook that, Niall, that with all the changes in personnel and an offensive scheme, Tony White's new 3-3-5 defensive scheme, again, you have to believe that there's going to be some growing pains.
Oh, there's definitely going to be growing pains, especially with, again, like Tony White's defense. I think that that's going to be something that you want to mature. But he has been able to go to Syracuse as well as to Nebraska and turn their programs around fairly quickly. So there's going to be some growing pains, but I think overall we're going to see hopefully some better things coming into this upcoming season and some things that we can kind of fix on the fly. Besides
their opening drive last year against Georgia Tech in Dublin, it felt like this football team in Tallahassee was always playing from behind. And when you do that, it forces you, I don't want to say one-dimensional, but certainly you can't settle in and run the ball the way that you would like. You're forced to move it in the air. How important is it, in your opinion, I don't want to say win the first quarter, but come out early and get a stop defensively. Come out early and put up some points on the board.
It's key. It is important to be able to start fast and be able to be cohesive on the offense and the defensive side of the ball. But I think more importantly than that, this Florida State team as a whole needs to come out and just execute. If we are able to come out, not worry about the scoreboard, don't look at the scoreboard at all. Again, Jimbo, that's one of the biggest things he said. Don't worry about the scoreboard. You go out, you do your job. This team needs to rebuild their identity of who they are. I think if they come out in the first quarter, execute what they need to do, not worry about the score, I think that's going to be the best drive as far as being able to get the momentum that we need overall.
Against Division I opponents last year, Florida State averaged 13.1 points a game.
Yeah.
That is scary. That really is. Realistically, where can they take 13.1 points? Where can you take that in 1 year?
I think you could take it a lot of places. When I was there, I feel like when the offense is able to either make some small plays or some like kind of just catch-up plays, it's going to create that momentum. So I think with Catellanos, I think that is a great opportunity for us to be able to say, okay, we can get a little bit of a momentum shift. We can get a first down. We can convert on a third down. And I think that is where we're going to see a little bit of that creativity. Again, it's making sure that we're staying healthy. But overall, if we're able to feed off of that, I think our guys can get some confidence to make some big plays.
I think today is maybe Thomas Castellanos' birthday. It was either today or yesterday, and he continues to be absolutely not short on confidence. We talked about the comments he made a few months ago, but he's doubled down on them, and he's even taken it farther, saying a lot of positive things about, this team, this defense, and I think the recent comments are more of him actually being a leader and believing in the guys around him. What have you made of what he said as of late?
Yeah, I think it's the same. I'm with you. I think as we're starting to go towards the season, things are starting to settle down, and he's realized, I think, especially watching him during training camp, he's definitely a leader. He's not necessarily the big vocal rah-rah leader, but he's definitely a leader. He can lead an offense. So I think as we're starting to dial things in, he's got some young players that he's going to need to come up and make big plays and do things. I think he's kind of honing in and allowing some of that tenure that he's had in college football kind of bleed throughout some of his players, so that way everyone can kind of settle down down prior to this big game.
Florida State, Alabama, 3:30 coming up this Saturday. We'll be in God's country talking about it with the former national champion Nile Lawrence-Stample. Will also play for the Cleveland Browns. And as we know, Florida State is a big underdog. Okay, your Florida State connections, mine, I'll start. I've yet to talk with anyone or text with anyone who believes they're going to win this game. What about you and all the people that you know? If you got it from anyone that, a big upset's coming?
Yeah, I'm not sure as far as being able to win this game. So, realistically, it doesn't look good. But one thing that I keep hearing is that Alabama's going to be out for blood and Alabama's this, Alabama's that. I want people to put some respect on Nick Saban's name. I understand that in July he did come on as a senior advisor, but realistically, he is no longer the head coach. In order for us to think that Alabama is going to just turn around, get rid of Saban, hire Kalen DeBoer, and automatically kind of create another dynasty for the next 17 years, next 10 years, is really unlikely, right? So they may have a good season, but I think that we are going to hopefully test them in some capacity. And I just want to make sure everybody understands that Nick Saban has officially retired.
Yeah,
right?
There's no doubt. And that's a great point because, I'm older than you, but growing up, outside of Gene Stallings and when they had that surprise Sugar Bowl national championship victory over Miami, there was a lull forever. I mean, it didn't work with Mike Shula. It didn't work with Mike Perkins. It didn't work with who's the guy they got out of Washington State? Mike Shula. Who's the guy they got out of Washington State though, who coached Ryan Leaf, and he came over and was boozing and Price. Coach Price. I mean, there were a lot of bad years for Alabama. I think that may be the only hope here for Florida State is to find out that this is not a great head coach.
Yeah, and also let's see how it looks for that dynamic between Kalen DeBoer and Nick Saban within the same room. We have to hope, at least on our end, that mesh isn't all that great, right? You have someone who is the absolute pinnacle of Alabama kind of overseeing and kind of possibly even undermining some of the stuff that he's doing. We'll see if it's a cohesive group and a cohesive unit, but at the end of the day, I think that we have a chance to at least have a game, and that is more than I can ask for because I think that we have way more upside than Alabama does going into this game on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, post Bear Bryant, and I said Mike Perkins, who's been with the Jaguars since its infancy. He's the son of the late Ray Perkins. He went 32-15. Bill Curry, 26-10. Gene Stallings won a natty. Mike Dubose, 24-23. Dennis Franchione, 17-8. Mike Shula, 10-23 before Nick Saban. So, yeah, they went through years and years and years of being under 500 or being very average. And I think that's what you got to hope for if you're, a Florida State fan. And this applies to everyone else in the SEC, that Kalen DeBoer is not that good of a coach.
Yeah, and I will say one thing I do want to touch on is going to be this defense from Tony White. Last year we struggled, but I think coming into this season with this 3-3-5 stack look that he likes and he's been able to really implement into these schools pretty quickly, I think it kind of tailors to our personnel, right? If a base defense doesn't really work and we don't have the personnel to be able to run forward down and run it well, then we can kind of lean on our linebackers a little bit. If our linebacker core is good, then we can lean on that. So I really like us being able to manipulate that just because our depth is kind of an issue. So at this point, we can kind of mix and match. Alabama does like to run the multiple tight ends, so we may see more of a base front this upcoming week, but I still love that we can kind of go in that bag and say, let's run a 3, let's have our linebackers like Omar Graham, who I think will fit great in this defense, and be able to come scrape over the top and fill holes.
Yeah, Omar Graham is a guy that, we talked about, I think it was last week, or it might have been 2 weeks ago. There's not a guy in the Florida State football roster who improved more throughout the course of last year than Omar Graham.
Yeah, no, and especially when you have a Jason Jenkins, you have a Darrell Jackson and a James Williams on the left side. James definitely has to get a little bit better as far as the run. We'll see. Hopefully that happens this season. But we have some big guys. That's like a 6'6", a 6'5", and another 6'6" guy. We have a really good defensive line. If we can get after it on the pass, I think our linebacker core will lean. Last year, Alabama still ran the ball, but as far as pass is concerned, our defensive back is a little bit younger. But man, I'm gonna tell you what, we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to at least have a game.
Yeah. One thing that Florida State fans I know are aware of, we've talked about it many times before, 4/5 of that offensive line, they're all redshirt seniors. Defensively as well, James Williams, redshirt junior. Jason Jenkins, redshirt junior. Elijah Herring, heard a lot of good things about him. Transfer senior. Jerry Wilson in the secondary, transfer senior. So the transfer portal, the names aren't like what they once were early on with Mike Norvell, but he's bringing in guys both offensively and defensively with a ton of experience. You just wonder how long will it take them to adapt to the new scheme.
Yeah, and again, especially when we had Jeremy Pruitt come in and he was able to really dial in that defense fairly quickly, I loved him for that. I love that he was able to come in and really throw a wrinkle that we had never seen and put it in place that so quickly. So I feel like when you have someone that can do that, I believe that Tony White can come in here, especially proving it over the last 2 seasons, can come in here and at least have our defense look good enough to be able to get a stop in order to get our offense on the field a little bit more often. And those are the small wins that we can have to get a game to then go into Kent State, to then go into our next kind of powder puff games, to be able to have our younger guys develop. That is going to be the best case scenario, is that we go out of Alabama healthy and we have a competitive game, if not win that game, possibly, and go into these next 2 games to develop guys to get ready for the rest of the real season.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. What do you see happening Saturday in Tallahassee?
I see hopefully possibly some rain happening, level the playing field a little bit. And I see us hopefully having a competitive game, having Norvell be able to watch over the team and be able to execute. That's all we need. I would be telling our guys, don't worry about the scoreboard. Let's go out. Let's play our game. Alabama, whoever it is, that's it. And one last thing, every time I think of Alabama and Florida State, I always think about coming off that plane after whooping Florida in the swamp and hearing that Alabama got upset in the Iron Bowl by Auburn.
Yeah.
Right? Every time I think about that, that's kind of what my brain goes to, because essentially we were playing Alabama all season. Right? After that 3rd game, we realized we were going to the Natty. We played Alabama every single game. And when we found out we weren't going to play Alabama, we were happy, right? We were excited. We were all happy that we weren't playing them statistically to win. But it makes you kind of wonder, what if we would have played Alabama in that Natty? I think it would have been a really good game, but nonetheless, we came on with the championship.
I remember watching that in a bar in Gainesville after you guys really beat the tar out of Florida there in Hogtown. But yeah, that was something. The return of the missed field goal for a touchdown.
Yeah. Rick Ballou here. Thank you so much for watching 1010XL Seminoles on YouTube. Before you click away, please like and subscribe to this channel. Be sure to check out other team-specific channels on 1010XL Network and YouTube.